Hi, Lydia.
Hi,
What are you doing?
this.
Oh, that's nice.
Bye.
I can see you in the mirror.
What? I can't see. Where's Mom?
Hi, so today I just want to share a thought from my quiet time this morning and also from the lesson that I taught this morning, which is kind of all connected because that's the story I was studying in my quiet time. So this morning I taught the sad story of David and Bathsheba. So at the moment I'm kind of going back and doing a few, some of the stories I never did, and this was one of them. Who wants to teach this story? So one of the things as I was reading it over this morning that I was really thinking about is just how sin can take you further than you want to go. So I don't think David would have planned to do all that he ended up doing. It just started kind of with coveting and wanting what was not his and being dissatisfied with what he had. And then, because he didn't fight that, he ended up doing so much more than what he would have planned on doing in the beginning. So I was thinking, how sin is like that. There's a song called Sin Will Take You Further Than You Want to Go. There's a whole song about it. I can't remember all the words. But then I was thinking how, the opposite's also the same. So last week I made a song called The Places That You'll Go. And it was all about how when you follow God, you never know where you're going to end up. So when I was thinking this morning about how sin takes you further than you want to go, I thought, the opposite's also true, that when you trust and you obey God, it will take you places you never imagined. So when we obey God, we'll end up doing so much more than what we ever thought about too. So one thing leads to another when you follow God, just like one sin leads to another and you get deeper and deeper in. The same when you follow God. So David, back when he was walking with God, David and Goliath, I'm sure David, when he was, practicing with a sling, never imagined that he would fight the enemy of Israel. And yet by following God step by step, that's where it took him. And Ruth and Naomi, Ruth followed Naomi and wanted to follow God, and look where it took her. It took her, to having her own husband and having a child and having a new place to live. But you can also have trials that you never would have imagined, like Job. Job followed God and loved God, and he had hard times that he never would have imagined, and yet he had more blessing than he would have imagined as well, by knowing God more, being coming closer to God and being given double of what he had before. And then I guess Solomon's another example. In the beginning he did follow God, and look where that led him, with all of his wisdom and all that he did with that. But then the opposite's true too. When he stopped following God, then I bet he didn't imagine to have so many wives either, maybe, I don't know. And then if you think of Jonah, I bet he didn't expect to end up inside a whale, and yet that's where he ended up when he disobeyed God. We're trusting and obeying God. It's about following God and not following your feelings or following yourself or following your own thoughts. And there's also the verse, walk in the Spirit and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. And so, David would have been walking in the Spirit when he did, walking in the flesh when he did what he did, because he was just doing what he felt like doing instead of obeying God. And I thought it's interesting, it says in the first verse in the story, it came to pass after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel. And then it says, but David tarried still at Jerusalem. So he was supposed to be going out and fighting, and yet he stayed at home. So he didn't join in the battle. And I thought that's a bit of a picture. When we fail, it can be that we're not, like the Christian life is a battle. It is a fight. It's a fight against our feelings and against our flesh. And yet we need to walk in the Spirit, and we need to fight that. We need to pray and read the Bible and obey God. And when we don't, you know, when we just go with the flow of our feelings, then we can do awful things. And when I taught this story, I told the kids that, you know, David was a man who really loved God, but even people who really love God have to choose to obey God. Like, they don't always choose to obey God. So no matter how well we know God, no matter how close we are to God, we need to always, every day, be staying close to God. We need to always be trusting and obeying and walking in the Spirit, being obedient to God. Otherwise, we are capable of doing anything. So sin takes you much further than you want to go, and trusting and obeying God takes you places you never imagined. Oh, and when I taught the story, there was actually not very many kids at school this morning because there's supposed to be a big storm today, so it was only a small class, which was a lot easier and just a lot less chaos. And so when I told the story, I had these, and I said that I used this while I was teaching the story about David, and I said, when we do what's wrong, it's like taking a seed and putting it in here. And then I asked them, you know, if you've done something wrong, what should you do? And they said things like confessing or repenting. And I said, well, that would be like taking the seed back out. But David, he tried to cover up his sin. So that's like putting dirt on top of the seed. And what happens when you do that? The seed grows into a plant. So when we try to hide our sin or to cover it up, it only grows, and we can do so much more than what we ever planned to do in the beginning. But when we confess our sin to God and own up to it, then God is merciful, and it is like taking that seed back out. But yeah, it goes the same both ways. When we do what's right, we're planting seeds as well. And they start off so small, and yet they can end up so big. So one more thing I was going to talk about is a meal idea. So this is something I don't do very often, but it's actually quite nice. It's a smoked Dutch sausage. It's called a rookworst. And so I do this like with potatoes and vegetables. So if you just boil a pot of potatoes, you put that in as well, and it just boils along with the potatoes. And it's quite an easy meal, and although it's not that big, it is really tasty, and yeah, our family really likes it.
Now.
You did it?
Yep.
Turn around. Oh, well done. Okay, right?
Myself.